What is up, my beautiful people? Welcome back to episode 14 of the Bling and Branding Podcast, where we come to be entertained, educated, and elevated. In this episode, I got to sit down with a good homie of mine, Luke Matthews, who I've honestly been following on LinkedIn for the last several years. And I remember him as an unhinged, crazy man on LinkedIn, just doing the craziest things, marketing pushes to get eyes on his content. And it fucking worked, honestly, because he is now wildly successful. He's shifted gears since then a few times, but now he is a master of AI and essentially teaches everybody how to utilize all these different platforms in order to supplement your work, make it easier, make it a minion for yourself, if you know what I'm saying. You feel I honestly learned so much in this episode, and I also confided in him something pretty serious. So this was just a really, really informative, awesome 10 out of 10 conversation for me. And I hope you feel that way too. So without any further ado, please sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. See you on the flip side.
Ricky, how you doing today?
I'm so good. How are you, Luke?
I am on my fourth coffee of the day. I've just finished a couple hours of LinkedIn, had a steak, went for a walk, and I'm ready to dive in and talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Amazing. We're still on the steak kick, are we?
I'm still doing it. I'm not like, I was doing 100% carnivore for about 6 months, and I've gone off for a couple weeks just because I read like that's a good thing to do, and then I'm going to cycle back on and do it again. So we'll see.
Caveman Luke over here just eating his meat.
Just trying to go back to prehistoric times, you know? So
I love that for you.
I spend all day on the computer. Like I got to feel like I'm connected to the wild somehow, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Get your Christopher Wilde on, am I right?
Exactly. Look, I miss Canada. I haven't been back to Canada for a long time. There's so much wilderness there, and I just live in the city now. So gotta
oh my gosh. When's the last time you were back in your homeland?
You know, it wasn't that long ago, actually. It was a couple months ago.
Okay.
I mean, I just was there for a couple days in a city. So it's not like I went to Canada. It was just the city. So
got it. Just to check, just to make sure it still exists.
Well, you know how it is when you move. Well, you don't actually, but when you move overseas, you gotta like there's a bunch of like banking stuff to do and new documents. Yeah. So every once in a while, I gotta go home and make sure I'm not doing anything illegal, etc. So.
Absolutely. Well, my first question for you today, Luke, the burning question that I think all of LinkedIn wants to know, is Brock a real person or is he just an extension of your personality?
So this is a good question. And for those of you, if you're diving into the episode, you don't know who I am. My name is Luke Matthews. I am a LinkedIn ghostwriter. I've been doing LinkedIn since late 2019, so over 4 years now. I've built kind of a brand in a weird kind of way. When I started out, I talked a lot about like really random things like wizards and pizza and hating bacon. And the way I grew on the platform was just talking about whatever I wanted. Now I'm more of a robot drone. I'm a little bit more boring because unfortunately, when you build a brand on a platform, more people look at you and they report what you do. And so I'm a little bit more conservative now. But anyways, just some backstory for those that don't know who I am on LinkedIn. My cousin Brock is actually a real person. He's actually my cousin. He has his own face. He's a human that breathes, that eats food, and actually has his own profile. It's not me. I'm not pretending to be Brock. Set the record straight. Brock is Brock.
Brock is Brock. Okay, I'm so glad that we had that discussion. But
Brock is Brock when he's being Brock. He's also likes to be Lara Costa, his cousin Taslim, his cousin Yasmin. So he, to be fair, he does like to pretend to be other people. So
he does.
I'll just put that out there.
He does. Right now, he's on a kick of Tasmin, I think, right? That's his thing. He's photoshopping his beard on his face.
Yeah, he's changing it every week, actually. I have no idea what he's going to do next, but it's fun to watch. And as you know, LinkedIn gets super serious.
It
So
does.
it's fun when someone like Brock is out there having fun, or I know Jacob Schweer as well is out there being a goof
Yes,
and writing whatever he wants, and
absolutely.
it's nice to have that breath of fresh air. Kind of like you do the same thing.
Absolutely.
So
Oh, thank you so much. Honestly,
yeah.
I want to go back to the beginning with your LinkedIn journey, Luke. I know that you very much, like we already spoke about, were very unconventional in the way that you approached it. You were giving away pizzas. You were kind of just shit posting things. You were kind of
Yep.
using different gimmicks to kind of get people to follow you. And it really was very successful. You walked a
Thank
fine
you.
line of, you know, being outlandish and crazy, but not like so much so that people just wrote you off. So, can we talk a little bit about what the strategy behind that was and how that journey kind of began?
Sure. So essentially for me, I started my LinkedIn off the back of Instagram. So I
Mm-hmm.
worked in construction for many years, built homes, installed glass, did drywall, all the usual trade stuff, and tried multiple side hustles to get out of it. Because in Canada
Mm-hmm.
in the winter, construction is not very fun.
Oh, I'm
So
sure.
when you've done it for a decade or more, you start thinking, how can I get out of being out in the cold, swinging a hammer every day? So I tried a few side hustles. For some reason, Instagram worked. Me and my partner at the time built a really successful blog together, an Instagram
Mm.
marketing business. So we would get paid to do photography and videography for brands, and also post blog posts and run ad campaigns and a bunch of different things. So that was back in 2016 to 2020, kind of where I started my social media journey.
Back when it was
Now,
possible to grow on Instagram.
yeah, back when it was the early days Instagram, like back when you could make money when you had a smaller following. Like we both had under 50K followers when we started
Uh-huh.
making money. And now on Instagram, I don't know if that's possible. Again, I'm not on the platform anymore, so I could be wrong, but it sure
Mm-hmm.
changed a lot during COVID. That's when I stopped using Instagram really, and when a lot of the companies we worked with fell apart. They
Yeah.
just all died during COVID.
Yeah.
So I was lucky enough to switch over to LinkedIn that exact year. I had a company on Instagram that was actually a crypto fashion company. And so they had an Instagram account and they also had a LinkedIn account. And they were like, Luke,
Uh-huh.
need you to go figure out LinkedIn. And so I logged into LinkedIn with my 33 connections. I was like, oh, let's see what this platform's all about, and started figuring it out, And so like the
Yeah.
crazy stuff came because I didn't need work on LinkedIn. It was just, oh, let me just post whatever I want and see what
Yeah.
happens. And because I had Instagram, I wasn't really worried about posting serious or getting work. I just went,
Mm.
I'm just going to write whatever I want and see what
Yeah.
happens. So that's kind of where it all started.
Okay. Okay. What is a crypto fashion company for those of us that don't know?
Yeah. So cryptocurrency is like Bitcoin. So funny enough, Bitcoin's like bouncing back again this year,
Is
been doing
it?
another run. Yeah. It's like 60K again. It loves to do these like spikes of growth and then tank and drop to like
Yeah.
$3,000 and screw everyone over. So we'll see what happens this time. But it's on the upswing again. So this company built like their own token on Ethereum, which is like
Okay.
the silver to Bitcoin's gold. And basically, it was just their own token. And so they
Mm-hmm.
kind of had like this aspect of environmentalism to them, which played into the fashion side of things. And they were trying to help out the environment and artisans in third world countries. So
Oh.
they needed investors, and investors
Uh-huh.
weren't on Instagram, they're on LinkedIn. So
Of
that's why they
course.
needed me to post over on LinkedIn, because we know there's more rich people on LinkedIn than Instagram. So
Yeah. Did you get
yeah.
investors talking about wizards and pizza?
So we did not get investors for that project. That project did not pan out because crypto
Oh.
also died during
Oh.
during those years.
Wah wah.
It was a good idea, but no, that project didn't work out, unfortunately. But it got me on LinkedIn, so it worked out for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know that your ghostwriting business now is called like the wizard situation, right? Is
Yep.
that just a wink at where you came from, or what's the significance for you behind wizards?
So great question. So it's Wizard of Odd Marketing, and I actually
Yes.
got my LinkedIn audience to choose the name. So I actually pulled them one day and like, hey, I need a business name. Give me ideas. And for some reason at the time, I honestly don't even remember why. I had part-time wizard in my headline for like 2 years, and I really don't remember why I put it in there at
Oh
all.
my
I
god.
just know that like when I did a 24-hour live on LinkedIn with my buddy,
Uh-huh.
which I did in October, like 2020, I think it was. For
Uh-huh.
some reason, I decided to put on a Wizards hat halfway through the event because it was around Halloween. And it just kind of became a thing. And so I didn't want to just say I was a LinkedIn wizard, because at the time a lot of people said that. So I went, well, I'm just a part-time wizard, and it stuck, and for some reason played into my brand name. And I don't even remember the full story now, to be honest. It's just there.
Oh my gosh. I love that for you. You're so like, the way you go about things, I feel like you just kind of like things happen and then you just capitalize on it. Is that kind of like been your strategy, would you say?
Yeah, I would say so. Like, I think I am calculated in how I study the platform. So, I mean, I spend way too many hours in the platform. So, I do know the algorithm side of things and all the nerdy stuff like AI. I love all that stuff. So, outside of that, which I do know, the actual marketing side, yes. Like, I literally just come up with an idea and go, yeah, let's just do this, whatever. Like that 24-hour live idea I had, it was something I thought of, and the next day I just planned it and did it 3 days later. And a lot of the stuff that I do, for better or worse, is like that. I'm very kind of unhinged with ideas. It's like, yeah, this sounds good. Let's just do it. Sometimes it works really well, and other times it fails miserably. But that's what you get with the strength, I guess.
Yeah, you got to kind of just throw shit at the wall sometimes, right? Just see what sticks.
You do. I mean, you got to know your strengths, right? That's not for everybody. For me, it's helped me out on LinkedIn, because I'm not really worried about what I say, or if I get a lot of people loving what I say or a lot of people hating what I say. Even from the beginning, it's never really bothered me, which I think for me, it helps, especially now having a bigger brand and more engagement, the fact that I can detach from that. And like, I'll honestly say, like, it doesn't affect me, even if I get hundreds of people praising me, or if I get a lot of people calling me a potter or a cheater. Like, either way, it's kind of in one ear, out the other, because you just learn to tune it out. If you're going to make it on social, you got to learn to tune it out, I think, both ways.
So you're kind of like the master of engagement, I would say. Honestly, like, you have comments just blowing up. What is some advice you would give to someone to kind of boost their engagement? Because obviously, every post, it's like boom, 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 boom. So like, what would you say?
It's a great question. I think there's a couple things you can do. Number one, you have to know what position you're in. So for example, for you, you've left your career, you're building your, entrepreneur journey. And so I think you can be a bit more free with your branding and what you say now. Whereas before, I know you had to be a little bit careful with what you post or what you said, right? So for someone like you now, I would say, like, you can be a little bit more risky with your comments and walk the line where let your personality shine and say something different. That has always worked for me on LinkedIn. I'm the guy that just didn't really think before I commented. I would just say whatever came to mind. Sometimes it would rub people the wrong way. Sometimes they'd laugh. Sometimes they get angry, but it always stood out. I don't think everybody can do that or embrace that kind of personality. But if you have that kind of happy-go-lucky, like loose cannon mentality, that really stands out. Now, if you have to be more careful with your brand, you just have to put effort in. Like, there's really no way to shortcut leaving good comments. Like, I study people religiously. Like, I'm a bit of a stalker. Like, I have a list of like 1,000 people in my head. When I see their face on LinkedIn, like, I remember things about their life, like details. Like, even with you, there's certain things I see your face in the feed. I'll remember posts or things that you do. Or like, I always, for some reason, put like 6 Y's on the end of your name, and just remember, like, that's just our thing. And you build like little connections with people, like I would say, like, micro connections. And if you can remember those, that just establishes a bridge. And most people don't remember. Like, they'll skim my posts even, and they didn't really read it. They're not really learning things about my life. So like, it's nice for me when I see like, oh, someone actually remembered like my camper van journey and they made a comment about it. Like, oh, wow, they actually paid attention to my journey. It's kind of neat, I think that's something that people can do better.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it is about the human connection, right? I feel like so many people put so much weight on just the analytics side of it and the numbers piece and their goals for what they're trying to do with that platform. But if you keep it organic, as it's supposed to be, then it'll probably come a lot more naturally, right?
I agree. And I think it's detaching. Like, it's weird because on the one hand, like, I put a ton of hours in. I obviously want to grow. I care about getting better and better. Like, I've tried to do that over the 4 years, get better at writing and copywriting and my pictures. And so I'm all for looking at analytics and getting better. But then at the same time, you kind of have to detach from it too. Like, I try and detach from it as soon as I post. And then I'm just trying to connect with people one-on-one. I've been writing these silly contributions to articles lately. It's been my way of still
Yeah,
kind
you
of being
have.
random on the platform. So I'll just say like random stories from my life. Like I wrote one the other day about how I almost blew myself up burning a bunch of wood at the end of a day at a construction job. And that was my answer to a serious question. And I think it has over 100 likes, and a bunch of people DM me and noticed it. And it's just like when you're willing to, I guess, share things and like go the extra mile, it builds connection with people, you know? And I put Jacob Schweer in one of my silly comments too. I haven't even seen him in a month. And I was like, oh, I haven't heard of Jacob in a month. Why don't I just put him in a little story comment? And sure enough, he popped up and sent me a DM and we had a conversation, you know? It's just like
that.
Going the extra mile to remember people or tell like extra stories or just be different. Like everyone's out here using AI comments and trying to pay attention to their stats at scale. And like, that's not how you build a memorable brand really, or grow in the long term. So
no, not at all. I think that AI is really going to either make or break society, honestly. It's either going to make us more detached and drone on, or it's going to help us use our human traits to be better. And 100%. I think you actually are doing a really great job at this. You said you studied AI for a while before you started posting about it, right? What were kind of the things that you were using AI to assist in your life?
Great question. So I actually started using AI last year in February. So it started blowing up
about a year
3 months prior. In like this November, December, I started seeing Ruben, for example. Ruben Hassid started posting about it really early, and I love his stuff. So for me, I didn't start posting about it really till this last fall. So about 7-8 months after I've been using it. I used it for my agency. So I run the LinkedIn ghostwriting agency. For me, as soon as I saw AI, I was like, oh, this is going to make my job easier, but I need to spend enough hours figuring out how to actually use it before I talk about it. So I didn't post about it for myself.
Is that what you're using?
ChatGPT, I use a lot. Perplexity as well is one of my favorite tools.
Okay.
It's basically a Google search replacement. So it's a really easy way to get quick answers with kind of links to posts and things like that. So it saves me a lot of time. Where I used to Google stuff, now I use Perplexity to kind of get the answers faster. So I love Perplexity as well. I use Bing Chat. It's another tool. I'm a nerd. I use them all, but I use GPT and Perplexity the most.
Okay. And so you just started using it to kind of help along with like time consumption, or what else were you using it for?
That was the main thing for me. Like I experimented with hiring not employees, but like contractors. Okay. So I was trying to scale my ghostwriting agency, and I got up to 12 to 15 clients of my own, and that was too much work. So I burnt it down to 3, but then I rebuilt it again last year and tested hiring people, and it just didn't really work for me. I think I work better in like 1 or 2 or a really small team. Yeah. And so I went, well, if that's the case, I have to learn AI and learn how to make it work for me and learn how to use it for systems and writing and all that stuff. So I started out kind of testing it like AI versus hiring contractors, which is going to be unpopular with a lot of people. I prefer AI to hiring contractors, to be honest. So yeah, not what you want to hear, but.
So I'm actually so curious about this Perplexity thing, because I feel like part of the reason the research takes so long, the research phase of things, because I'm not asking the right questions to Google, or I'm like just breaching what it is I'm trying to say. And like, it's just, I can't figure out how to ask the question. So is that kind of eliminating that type of an issue, this platform?
It is, because the thing about the AI is almost smarter than you already. So if you get a question that's close to what you want, it comes up with a bunch of like micro questions for you, like using Copilot to help you get closer. So like sometimes that's what I do. For example, if I'm writing for an AI newsletter, about the election cycle, I'll put that in like, oh, give me something new on Joe Biden in this month. It'll bring up a bunch of articles for me. But then it asks me like another question and gives me like 6 multiple choice answers from it. So then I can pick it, and it goes even deeper down the rabbit hole and kind of closer to what I think I want. And then it'll give me a bunch of links. So then all you have to do is go look at the date, go, okay, this was written by USA Today a week ago. This was written by this article. And you would never find that in Google, because we know Google's manipulated. So if you Google search something, you're not really getting the answer you want. You're just getting the answer that someone's paid to put at the top. Exactly. Right? Perplexity kind of cuts that out, which is what I love.
That's really interesting. I know I've just like started the habit when I Google something to just like scroll halfway down the first page because I'm like, these people are paying for placement. Like
they are, and we forget that because you just
do.
want fast, right? You just like, it must be the best if it's at the top, but it's not.
So I've dabbled with ChatGPT. I don't pay for it because I wasn't in the lottery system where, you know, I had the window of opportunity to do so. But I've noticed you kind of have to train it to respond in the tone of voice that you write in. What is some of your advice for training that tonality to come out in ChatGPT so that you don't have to sit there and tweak it longer than, you know, a few minutes?
It's a great question. So there's two answers. Number one is don't bother even trying. Just actually use another tool called Supergrow. It's a tool that I use a lot. It basically, if you don't want to actually learn it and you just want to actually write a decent post or have it formatted automatically for you, this tool does it. So a lot of people I just say, hey, you're actually never going to put the work in to learn how to prompt properly. Just go use a tool like Supergrow. And they do, and they're happy with it. So I would say first, ask yourself honestly, like, do you want to put in a few hours to learn how to use it? If you don't, fine. There's tools like Supergrow that you can use that are good enough. If you do want to learn ChatGPT, just follow me on LinkedIn. I got a bunch of guides that'll, like, I couldn't really explain it to you over a podcast because it's too complex.
Yeah.
So.
If you guys don't follow Luke already, you absolutely should. But he literally posts how-to guides on everything AI, like every day, basically. So he definitely has a step-by-step guide on how to utilize these tools to make your life easier.
Honestly, if you're trying to grow on LinkedIn, most of it now is focusing on connections. Like, I think you do that well. Network with people, DM with people, leave good comments. The actual post, sure, you need good content, but most of the way you win is all the intangibles and all the other stuff that, hey, look, it's not always fun. That's why people don't do it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Since, you know, starting this new company of mine and a podcast, honestly, I have no time, I feel like, to engage with my audience. And I've definitely seen a dip in my engagement and, you know, reach and all of that stuff. So I should definitely start utilizing these Perplexities and Supergrows because I do use ChatGPT for things like very, very basic things. Like I'll have it write my show notes for me.
Oh, nice.
Well, like Riverside does that, but it like makes it sound more like social. And then I like say optimize it for SEO, and you know, then I like say put it in the voice of Ricky Raptor, and then it you know, all the tweaks. It cuts out hours and hours of work, but I feel like I'm not utilizing the tools that I could be because I'm so overwhelmed and stressed, and I only have 2 clients, so that's not good.
I mean, look, it's hard for most people, honestly, to put the work in to learn the prompts. That's why using the alternative tools can help. Like Perplexity is basically like Google. It's easy to use. You don't really need to learn how to use it, which is great. Same thing with Supergrow. Like you can set it up and know in 5 minutes, like, oh, this is how to use it. So
are these, do you pay for all of these or do you use the free versions?
So I pay for them, but you don't need to.
You don't need
Perplexity,
to. Okay.
You can use for free, and it's actually good enough. GPT you can use for free as well. Supergrow is a paid tool, so that one you'd have to pay for. But again, it's also got a LinkedIn schedule. And by the way, I'm not affiliated with them. I just like the tool, so I don't have an affiliate code or anything. It's just a great tool. But you do have to pay for that.
Yeah. Okay. So I know that you have, you know, kind of switched gears a little bit. Now you are definitely more, no, I don't want to say corporate, but like kind of, I guess, a little bit more corporate in terms of your delivery. I mean, in comparison, I didn't mean that.
I know. I'm just messing with you. It's true. It's true. You go ahead, ask your question. I'll shut up.
Was there like an internal battle with yourself? Because I mean, I think about all of the times that essentially I worked for corporations where they told me to shut up, basically, for lack of a better term, and, you know, be more on the straight and narrow and tone it down. And I really didn't like that. I really struggled with that. I would assume like when you're making this choice for yourself, it's a little bit easier. But I mean, did you still have like an internal battle? Like you're still like, I wish I could just shitpost today, or like, I wish I could bring out my personality. What's that battle, that transition with yourself been like?
That's a good question. I've definitely battled it. Not as hard. It's not as hard lately, basically for me, I got banned for the 7th time
Yeah.
last February, I think it was. Also a lot of stories in there, but basically LinkedIn Help messaged me like, hey, if you get banned one more time, we're not going to restore your account. You've had 7 bans. You need to smarten up. So I stopped posting for about 3 months last year, from February till April.
It was a sad
And
place
I didn't
in
know if I was going
LinkedIn.
to come back to the platform.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, hey, it was a tough time. But I didn't know if I was going to come back because I obviously every post after that point was a risk to get your account removed. I have an agency to run. It's where I make my money. So I stopped posting and went, hey, do I even want to come back? When I came back, I had to accept, look, I'm going to have to change my posting style and accept it and find other ways to allow my personality to shine. And I think I've done a pretty decent job. I've focused more on talking about LinkedIn and education and all that. And, it's helped with business and grow my brand and everything. And I try to let my personality out in the comments. So I'll still have fun in people's comment section or on live streams like this or on other platforms or in person. But I keep the unhinged stuff off of LinkedIn now just because I have to. Like I had no other choice. I would be banned again, right? And so to speak to your question, it was hard in the beginning. I literally had to double check every comment in my head, like, oh, is this over the line? Luckily, I have 2 really good friends on the platform, and Laura and Jasmine. They would notice my comments and hit me in WhatsApp like, hey, that was too far, man. Delete that. Like, come on, Luke. You're better than this. Don't do this anymore. So shout out to them for helping me out because I probably would have been banned if they weren't looking out for me. So that definitely helped. But it was an adjustment. It's tough. It's tough anytime you have to accept, like, you have to censor your voice a little bit. But hey, that's the social media we're on. That's how it is. And when you grow big enough, everyone has to deal with that. You can get away with it in the beginning, but eventually it catches up.
Yeah, you use that personality and that craziness and that extraness to hoist yourself up. And then once you get there, it's like not acceptable, which is kind of a shitty
Weird,
reality. But
I mean, look, if we look at any big account, it's easy to criticize them, right? Like, oh, why are they posting boring quotes or platitudes? Like, they don't say anything anymore. Well, there's a reason. The reason they don't say anything anymore, if they do say something, they get a ton of hate. They get reported on the platform, and they're risking their business and their account. So unfortunately, we criticize these bigger influencers or celebrities for not having an opinion. But then when they do have an opinion, we roast them and we tear them down. So you can't have it both ways, right?
Yeah, catch 2020 or catch 22, LOL.
Yep. Seriously, it's hey, maybe we should stop canceling people and let them speak their minds.
Oh my God. No, this cancer culture seriously needs to stop. Like, the fact that society goes back to Twitter in like 2008 when nobody cared about anything and then they cancel people for over a decade ago. It's like, come on. Like, this is just how society was.
Wild,
relax.
I know. I'm like so glad all my conversations from when I was a teenager aren't online somewhere because can you imagine?
No. Man. No, I could not. No, I could not. If my Facebook still exists out there, I mean, my MySpace, or my Tumblr.
I wonder if I've deleted mine. I hope I've deleted that.
I know. I hope that's not on the internet too. So what's the process like for pulling yourself out of a shadow band when you've been taken off of LinkedIn? Is that like so difficult to get that engagement back up?
Yeah, it hits you for a while. So each time, I think for a couple weeks, my profile picture wouldn't even show up. So like you log back in and you can't even see your picture. And when you search your name, people can't actually find you. So I kind of hacked it. Basically, I changed my business name to Luke Matthews and then at the Wizard of Odd Marketing when I was banned. So I actually used my bans to build up my business page. So my business page has good engagement. And I think 13,000 followers or something now. Because every time I got banned, I would go post about it on the business page. Like, oh, I got banned again. Quick, follow my business page. I might never come back. And then people would FOMO and follow the business page.
Oh my God.
So I kind of used it to my advantage. And then I'd siphon them off to the email list. But you got to make the best of it, right?
Absolutely. Honestly, you are one of the people that really understands marketing. Like, everything is a publicity stunt if you look at it the right way. And you really know how to do that.
And it doesn't happen on LinkedIn a lot. That's why it's more fun. Most of that stuff happens on a Twitter or an Instagram or TikTok, but it really does work on LinkedIn. It's just not many people are doing that kind of stuff.
No, absolutely. I wonder, do you think that LinkedIn's going to catch up to the times in terms of social media? Like, do you think they're going to start ever letting people do collaborative posts or, stories? Or I know they did the story thing for like a little and kind of dropped it, but where do you see the future of LinkedIn kind of going? I feel like it's plateaued a little.
Yeah, I think they're trying to figure it out because they were really pro creator for a while. They had that creator program. Creator mode obviously came on and stories, but it seems like they're rolling a lot of that back. They obviously got rid of LinkedIn stories. They're actually cutting creator mode in the profile. They cut the creator program. So I think they've been trying to figure out like, what are we as a platform? I think they're going back to more corporate where it's like, look, this is LinkedIn. People are here to find a job. They're here to learn and be educated. So I do think there will be influencer marketing and collaborative posts and still it'll be a great platform to get work. But I do think they're going to tighten it up more and they're moving away from the personal branding, selfies and stories and sob posts. And it's even in the algorithm. A couple of years ago, you could post a story about your life and go viral. I would post stories about my camper van that I lived in for 6 months. And those posts went viral and I'd get a ton of followers. Now that post doesn't get pushed outside of your connections,
your circle.
It's like it cultivates your audience, but if you want to get new followers, you have to educate. And so I think that's where the platform is going. So it'll be a bit harder to, I guess, grow in this unhinged, crazy way that I did. I kind of got lucky, I think, in my timing. It would have been harder to do it now with where they're going.
I mean, I feel like you can make the same argument for pretty much every social media platform, right? Like people that got on TikTok prior to 2020, like, oh my God, It was so easy to just go completely viral and build a giant following out of literally nothing, like doing trending dances.
COVID times, it went crazy, didn't it?
It did go crazy. I personally think, though, if LinkedIn goes back, if they backtrack to that corporate situation, they really need to focus on honing in on making sure that the job aspect of it is way harder to post like spammy shit and like add more, hoops that people have to jump through to post legitimate jobs. Because before I launched this business, obviously I was panicking, I was like looking for work opportunities anywhere. And like, I am not kidding. Like 40% of the jobs I applied for ended up being an MLM scheme or, some sales scheme or something. They'd say it was marketing and then it would push you to some freelance platform that you had to pay a service subscription fee for. Like it was ridiculous how much I came across that was just not presenting as it was. And I think if they go that route, fine, but they got to make sure that it works the way that it's supposed to.
Agreed. Well, we'll see because they keep firing people, so let's hope they let's hope they make things better. I'm sure they will, though. I think it's just they didn't know the direction of the platform, but you're right, that's not good. 40% is a lot.
No, it's like it's specifically for sales and marketing stuff. That's typically like false advertising. Obviously that's all I've ever applied for because that's what my career is in. But speaking of careers, Luke, what did the young Luke Matthews think he was going to be when he grew up?
The young Luke Matthews is like the old one. I've never been good at future casting, even like visualization. It's something I realized this week. I've been meditating more the last couple of weeks, trying to get more chilled. Yeah. And with meditating, you're supposed to like visualize your day and imagine it going good and all this. And I realized as I started practicing that, I've never done that. I've never been, even when I used to pray for hours a day, I never really visualized how my day would go. I've never been good at future casting. So the young Luke had no idea. He was just like, yeah, today I want to play hockey. And then I would do that. I wasn't good enough to make the pros. So like, oh, I better do something else. And then it was like, oh, I want to build homes. So I went and figured out how to build homes. Then it was like, oh, I want to be a Christian preacher. So I went and did ministry for 5 years and went crazy on that. Yeah. In my 20s, I was in Christian ministry for a long time. My name is John Luke Matthews. So I grew up in a Christian home. Yeah. I'm 3 of the 4 apostles, basically.
I had no idea. Oh my God. What was that experience like?
I had some really crazy times. So I don't know if you know Christianity that well, but I grew up in the like charismatic side. So basically they believe in like praying for healing, that, you
Mm-hmm.
know, praying for people to rise from the dead, giving prophetic words to
Oh,
people. So basically like looking at you and saying like, I see this for your future, kind of like a psychic. So I did all that stuff. I was crazy. I was the guy preaching in the streets and going to festivals and, you know, praying for people to get healed from broken legs and diseases. And I
what?
went and preached in Africa and
Oh my
spoke on the
God.
radio and did a bunch of stuff. So I was really into it. I was all in. I was like, I prayed for 5 hours a day in the morning.
Oh my
You know, I
God.
would fast. I fasted for days at a time. 21 days, I think, was my longest fast to try and
21
get more
days?
holy and spiritual. And so I was fully into it from my early 20s.
What the heck? Okay, then
I know.
what was your awakening to like get out of that?
So that's a long story. That's a long story. I won't get into all of it, but
No, it's
essentially
okay.
for me, like I do stuff 110%.
Mm-hmm.
So enough to the fact that I know like, okay, this is for me, or this has run its course.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got to the point where I saw enough in the religion, like this just isn't for me. It doesn't add up. And
Mm-hmm.
I just lost my faith. You know,
Mm.
it's a long story, but there was couple things that happened within some ministries I was involved with and some corruption
Mm-hmm.
that I saw. I was like, I just can't buy into this idea of
Mm.
religion. And I'm a nerd, so I love history as well. So I
Yeah.
studied the Bible and religions and all this kind of stuff. And my head just went, I just actually I can't know for certain. And if I don't know for certain, then I have to be agnostic, you know, and that's where I am now. Cause I don't know enough to say there is a God or there isn't a God. And so because I
Mm.
got to that point, I couldn't be, hey, I'm the guy praying for healing and telling you this is the way, because I just didn't
Uh-huh.
believe it was the way anymore. So, yeah,
Okay, so you went from preacher to Instagram influencer, or was net?
slowly,
Yeah. Okay.
slowly. Yeah. So basically the preacher era ended and then it was more of the construction era. So I
Okay,
started doing
construction.
construction as a filler, which was like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
basically I was 26 years old and all I'd ever done was Christian ministry. And before that, I ran a landscaping business. That family ran landscaping
Mm.
business.
Mm-hmm.
So I had no real world experience, really, no degree, no normal job. And so I was like, oh, I guess I'll go swing a hammer. And so I started
Yeah.
out from the bottom, like 15 bucks an hour, and trying to figure
Uh-huh.
out like, well, what does the world work? Because I was literally almost
Yeah.
like borderline cult status in
Oh God.
Christianity. I was like, oh, how does this work? Like, for example, even I rented my first place, and I didn't know how to like at the end of using like a dryer cycle, there's lint, you know, the little lint
Oh,
tray.
yeah.
I didn't
Uh-huh.
know that you were supposed to empty the lint tray. So I just
Oh,
left it and it like almost blew up the dryer until like my landlord came and looked at it. I was like, oh, you know, you're supposed to like empty that, right? It's not good for the
oh
dryer.
my
I didn't know.
God.
I hadn't done normal stuff. So, so
And then
construction, I did construction for quite a few years. Yeah.
okay. Okay. And then so what started your writing journey? Like what started practicing, like, were you journaling? How did that come to be?
So I did journal during the Christian phase. So I would write
Okay.
down like, because I used to interpret dreams too. So I was like a dream interpreter guy. I actually still have an email. I used to like get people to email their dreams like way
Oh my
back
God.
when like in 2005, like way back in the day. So I
Oh
had
my
like Luke
God.
the Dream Guy at gmail.com. Don't email me your dreams. But like that was my email address. And so anyways, I started writing down my dreams. And they're always like really weird and random. And but they weren't good. Like I was never a good writer. I was terrible at English in high school, like awful,
Hmm.
the worst essay writer ever, like not a descriptive person. And
Hmm.
so I just stumbled into it by accident because of the Instagram stuff. It was like, hey,
Yeah.
I want out of construction. Me and my partner at the time started the business, and we needed
Hmm.
somebody to write the blog posts and write the captions for the photos. Like, well, I guess I better do that. And so I
Okay.
started writing, but honestly, it was so bad. It just they were like commercials. Like there was no personality. It was very
Yeah.
robotic. But then over time, I started getting better as I did it
Hmm.
more and more and more. I've done like hundreds and hundreds of articles and Instagram posts. And, you know, at the end of it, I was like, oh, I guess I'm not bad. But I really didn't know I was decent at writing until I joined LinkedIn and started just writing whatever I wanted. And then people
Hmm.
started liking it. I was like, oh, maybe I'm decent at writing. I had no idea. I just started doing it. So
Yeah. No, I feel like you had such a stream of consciousness type of style. And I feel like that's kind of hard to pull off without sounding like jumbled up and like kind of scattered and all over the place. But no, you're quite a great storyteller. I feel like the whole, like with writing, it's funny because you think you're bad, and then one day you're like, oh, like I guess I can write. It just like happens.
That's totally what it was like. I was like, I'm just writing stuff, whatever. But I remember one moment though, it was like, oh, I guess I'm not bad. I wrote a post about my brother. He worked for Air Canada at the time, and it was like his dream job, and he got laid off during COVID because of the whole like, well, the world stopped, so no one's flying. Yeah. So he got fired, and he called me and was all upset, and I felt bad for him. So I wrote a post about it, and it went viral, and I got him 6 months of LinkedIn Premium because some LinkedIn guy saw it and commented, and I was like, oh, I guess I'm not bad at this stuff, and from there I was like, oh, I guess I'll keep trying. I was like, I'm not too bad.
No, you're great. You're great at it. Yeah. So what's on the docket? What is your world domination plan next? Do you have anything coming up?
Great question. I think right now I'm living in South America. So I'm Canadian. I'm originally from Vancouver. I spent 4 years living in the UK. I've always been a bit of a traveler. And now I'm down here hanging out, enjoying the sun, and just running my business from here. I had big goals for this year, but honestly, the first 2 months they didn't go good. Not even business wise. It was just like, it's just not how I wanted it to go. But like the last week of February has been great. So we'll see. Maybe in March I'll start picking it up again. Yeah. But I'm down here because I literally just wanted to focus on my business and myself, and have time to kind of build up, to get better. So trying to scale my business, and we'll see. I don't have any major plans or anything too exciting right now. Just working on the business, leading into AI and robot mode, and we'll see what happens.
Did you say your cousin's there with you, Brock?
My cousin's actually here as well. He followed me down here. So he also got tired of Canada. It's like, I don't want to spend winter in the cold. And so he just came down here a little while ago, and he's figuring it out for himself as well. So.
Okay, nice. Yeah. Honestly, I don't exactly know what it is that Brock does. I just know that I see his crazy posts on LinkedIn all the time. Does he have a goal for what he does on LinkedIn, or does he have a job? Like, what is his deal?
What's funny is like, these questions are what people would always ask me at the start. Like, do you actually make money doing what you do? Or do you just hang out on LinkedIn all day? Like, he's doing the same thing that I did like 3 years later. Yeah. So everyone's like, he's so funny and having a good time. Like, what does this guy do? But no, he actually used to be a network IT guy. So he's an IT nerd. Now he left his job. He doesn't do that anymore. But he was one of those guys that was smart enough to save his money, buy a couple homes. And so I think he's like living off that. And then he also does marketing stuff. So he does one-off projects and things behind the scenes. So we'll see what his plans are. He never really tells me either. He just does stuff. And I don't know how you pay for life, but you keep flying around and you got lots of money and you have a So I guess you're doing something right. Yeah, maybe I should have invested like you in my early 20s.
Good for him, man. His growth journey on LinkedIn was actually insane. I feel like he just popped up one day, and then his whole strategy was ripping off your content, and then the woo train, and now he's got like a gajillion followers. Like, I was in one of the original woo trains, not to toot my own horn, but I was. Nice. I believe
that. Woo Nation, as he called it, I think.
Woo Nation. For those of you that don't follow Brock, Luke's cousin, you absolutely should if you want to laugh every day on LinkedIn. He literally is the most ridiculous posting. He has this thing with Ryan Reynolds, and he has this thing with like photoshopping other people's faces on his own face really poorly, and it's Woo Nation, and that'll make a lot of sense if you just follow him. I can't really describe what that means.
just go check him out. Honestly, it's such a nice change of pace. That's all I can say about him. You'll look at him, you're like, I've never seen a post like that before. That's Brock.
Yes. Yeah. And somehow it makes sense amidst the chaos,
It does. That's the skill though, because you can't just be crazy. It has to kind of make sense.
It has to be calculated.
That's a little too far.
Yeah. You have to be calculated with your crazy.
There's a line there. You got to learn that line.
Oh my gosh. I don't know if you want to tell me the answer to this question, but it seems like your business is absolutely booming, your ghostwriting business. How many clients do you have, if you don't mind my asking?
Not at all. So it's a good question because I've gone up and down a fair bit. Right now, I've got 7 clients. I've
Mm,
actually recently decided not to scale. So the
mm-hmm,
question with ghostwriters or any marketing agencies often like, how quickly are you going to scale? How many clients are you going to have?
mm-hmm,
How many people are you going to hire? And I tested that, like I said earlier, and realized
mm-hmm,
it's really not for me. So I'm going to stay in that probably 6 client range
mm-hmm,
for probably the foreseeable future and focus more on building my own brand on the side. So I'd like to grow my
mm-hmm,
newsletter,
mm-hmm,
and I'm working on an AI course, which hopefully I'm going
mm-hmm,
to release next month, and kind of have some things on the side other than just ghostwriting. Because until this
mm-hmm.
point, I actually haven't ever had a lower ticket offer other than just my high ticket ghostwriting. So for now, I'm kind of happy in that range, but we'll
Mm-hmm.
see.
So, are you really just writing for individuals or like whole companies?
So right now, I'm mostly writing for AI projects. A lot of it's AI newsletters and then
Okay.
AI startups, founders. So
Okay.
I don't really write for companies anymore because on LinkedIn, as you
Okay.
know, the company pages are tough to
Yeah.
grow. Typically, I
Yeah.
write for a founder or
Mm-hmm.
someone that wants to be the face for the company that's willing
Mm-hmm.
to basically let me control their social media account. So
How the heck do you organize time to write for 7 different entities?
it's hard. At one point, a couple of years ago, I was writing over 300 posts a weekend.
Oh my
I
God.
don't know how I did that now. Probably because I was drinking at the time. I was just able to do stuff at scale. I don't know. I don't drink anymore. I've had to give up the sauce. But yeah, I don't know how I did that many. Even now, it's a lot to write at once. It helps now that I'm doing AI only. Before I
Mm.
was doing multiple niches. So
Oh,
I was
uh-huh.
writing for construction, a lawyer, real estate. I even wrote for a 10x menopause speaker, so I had to learn menopause stuff, which was crazy and
Interesting.
scary to be honest. Um, but I've written for like so many weird people. But yeah, now I couldn't tell you. It's just experience. I guess I've written so
Mm-hmm.
many posts
Yeah.
across social media that at a certain point I can
Mm-hmm.
just get into the zone and pump them out. So
That's so crazy that you say that because you were drinking, you were able to do more. Because I too I have an alcohol problem. I could be construed as an
okay,
alcoholic. I've got it definitely under control now. Definitely used to drink way too much and use it to bury my feelings.
yep.
Anyway, I digress. When I was doing that, I did not have the ability to scale things, and I was unhappy
Hmm.
and sickly and not sleeping and a
I hear that.
disaster, but also like didn't realize it because I was drinking so much that I was clouded and I was like, my life is fine, like, whatever.
Hmm.
I'm so interested by the fact that you were able to do so much while under the influence like that. That's so crazy.
Yeah, I mean, if you study a lot of great writers, they often were under the influence of
That's
different substances,
true.
so either
True.
alcohol or other things. So I think part of it, I would say I was still unhappy, still
Hmm.
battling with a lot in my own personal life, which is why I was drinking.
Hmm.
Just had some hard things going on. So it was
Yeah.
easier to detach from feelings if you're drinking
Yeah,
all the time, as you know.
totally.
And
Yeah.
that's why I did it. And as far as writing at scale, I think part of it too is you do care less, obviously, when
Mm,
you're drunk or when you drink a lot. So if you
yeah.
have a lot of clients and you just need to get it done, it kind of takes away the second guessing and you're just able to write
Yeah.
and let it flow. So I think that's where it helped. I would say though, looking back, my quality wasn't as good. Whereas now I think I write more efficiently, more crisp, more clean. I
Yeah.
just did it way more at scale when I was under the influence. So
Yeah.
I haven't had a drink in 9 months, so I couldn't tell you if that's still true. I
Congratulations.
know my last go around, I quit for 5 months.
That
Struggled to write the whole time. I actually had to outsource most of my writing because I literally
was my
couldn't
next
write
question.
unless I drank,
Okay.
which was tough for a ghostwriter. I literally couldn't
Yeah.
write for about 5 months.
Yeah. Oh my
Um,
God.
that I know. And so I had to learn how to hire and train people and all that. But then when I started drinking and I was like, oh, surely this is going to fix my writing problem. And it
Hmm.
didn't. I still couldn't
Oh.
write. And so
Oh.
I was totally frustrated. It's like, oh man, I'm drinking again. It doesn't add anything to my life. And it's not allowing me to actually write and pay my bills.
Yeah.
So what's the point of drinking anymore? And then I quit.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
God. So like what kind of things did you have to do to retrain yourself to get back in a mindset to be able to pump out content in a sober state?
That's a great question. So I was fortunate enough to go to Bosnia I think it was last May now. Yeah, in May. And
Mm-hmm.
that trip really helped me turn things around. I hung out with my friends Yasmin and Lara, and was really influenced by the way that they wrote and did things. And so it kind of helped me flip my brain on. And that's when I decided, like, hey, I'm going to just clean up my life. So I quit
Mm-hmm.
drinking, started working out heavily, started the carnivore thing. And I just basically
Mm-hmm.
kind of challenged myself and went, I'm just going to level up and get better across the board. So it wasn't just
Yeah.
writing, it was everything.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, it didn't really come right away, the writing side. Everything else was easier, like working out, cutting
Mm-hmm.
alcohol wasn't hard, eating meat wasn't really hard, but the writing side was hard, especially because
Mm-hmm.
for me, I write better when I'm angry or when I tap into like dark energy or emotion. Like
Okay.
I used to write, I'd scroll the feed, see something that pissed me off, and then I would write. Like that's how I would write. And so when I was getting rid of this dark energy, I struggled to write because like I don't know what
Mm.
to tap into. I've never
So that was
written from like a
fueled.
light
Okay.
place.
Okay.
Yeah. And so even still,
Interesting.
like it's more, I would say I don't write as naturally still now because I'm more motivated by like someone slighting me or seeing something that bothers me. Like that's when I want to write. And when I'm in a good place, like I'm in a pretty good place right now, I
Mm-hmm.
don't write the same volume because I'm more like, oh, I'm not
Mm.
processing my feelings. Cause for me, writing is processing or like thinking
Okay.
out loud because I can't
Okay.
communicate it all the time. So I'm still figuring it out. I don't think I even during that time really had it down perfect. I knew I had to write and I pushed through it, but I wouldn't say I've had the same flow state since really.
Interesting. I am so the
Hmm.
opposite. Whenever my life is in shambles and everything's
Really?
falling apart, I'm like paralyzed and I cannot write and I really can't do anything. Honestly, I'm so sensitive.
That's
But
fair.
when I'm happy and things are good, I'm like, blah, 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 like shouting from the
Yeah, let me tell
rooftops.
you all about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's more normal. I think that's how you're supposed to be. I'm like, why? Like now that I'm feeling better, I don't even want to share pictures anymore. Like I don't want people to
Really?
see me. I don't want to tell stories. I was the
What?
opposite. Like when I was struggling, I shared everything, and now that I'm good, I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't want to share anything. I'm just gonna write about how to grow on LinkedIn and AI. It's so weird, honestly.
Oh my
I don't
God.
get
It
it.
is so weird.
Yeah.
You know, I do
Yeah.
actually, I wouldn't say I like to write from a dark place ever, but I do really like to confront when I've made a mistake.
Yeah.
Because I feel like since I like to write from such a happy place and like brag, if you will, I feel like you can't really go over that well on LinkedIn too much bragging about stuff or
Yeah.
talking about how good things are because then it comes across as fake or like this is annoying. So, you know, when I do make a
That's too bad.
mistake, I'm like, oh yeah, now I have like this really charged thing to write about and I'm gonna like just lay it all out on
Yeah.
the table and you know, kind of repent from this, you know, mistake, if you will.
Yeah, I hear you. I like when you like share the happy side though. I think that's I've always admired people that are able to share from that point of view because I've never not yet. Maybe I will tap into it, but as of yet, I haven't fully tapped into writing from that side.
I think you can do it. I believe in you.
Well, thank you.
You're
I'm sure
welcome.
I'll get there. It's like you're always getting better, right? It's like you learn
Yeah,
different things and how to express yourself in different ways. So hopefully I get there.
absolutely. Absolutely. I could stand to be a better person in that pressure fight or flight mode anyway because I start to get a whiff of anxiety and
Hmm.
I shut down. So, you know, I could stand to be a little bit better in more mindful in states like that because you can't avoid it. And that's what I try to do. I'm a pretty avoidant person. So, you know, I could
At
learn from
least you're
you.
self-aware about it, though. I think that's a good thing. It's like at least same thing for me. Like I know I create chaos because I win in chaos.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm working through right now is I'm trying not to do that. I'm trying to go, well, I feel good right now. I'm zen, I'm meditating, I'm enjoying my life. How do I win without chaos? Because I know
Yeah.
how to win when everything's falling apart and things are going
Mm-hmm.
wrong, but how do I win when, my days are boring and things are good? That's my current challenge. So
Oh my God, do you want to switch a little? Like, give me some of that and I'll give you some of mine.
sounds like, yeah, you need to take some of what I
Yeah.
have and
Yeah.
I'll learn from you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've got one more question that I'm very curious about before we part ways today. But when you say you're on a carnivore diet, does that mean you're like literally only eating meat, or what does that mean?
Good question. So I was literally only eating meat until the last month or so. I did some traveling, and so I got off that. It was hard to do carnivore. I did about 5 different countries, 5 or 6 in the last 6 weeks. So I didn't eat purely carnivore then. I ate some other stuff. But when I was here in Paraguay, I was eating 100% carnivore. So for me, that was literally just steaks. So red meat, steaks and burgers, and that was it. And I did that from May until December last year. And I lost a bunch of weight. I lost like 30 pounds. I had digestive issues that for me cleared up that I don't have anymore. Bunch of really cool things. I slept better, started sleeping better because of it. I've always had insomnia. So for me, it worked really well. I can't speak to the long-term, health, like positives and negatives yet. I'm still researching and figuring that out. But all I know is since I started doing it, it's helped me fitness-wise, health-wise, and even digestion-wise. So
are you taking like supplements to, get other vitamins and things that you're not getting from like vegetables and stuff?
Just red meat and water with salt.
That's so crazy.
I know.
Do you have like
there's some good studies
blood type that works for? I'm like so
that's
confused.
The interesting thing is it's all this stuff, like especially health-wise, there's so many conflicting voices and articles. It's hard to know who to listen to. Like I've listened to arguments from both sides of the fence relating to the carnivore diet. I do think it has to be genetics. Like I was lucky because I have 2 cousins that did the carnivore diet, and my own brother did the carnivore diet and lost a bunch of weight and said he felt great on it. So I kind of knew like maybe for our DNA type, it works really well. And I tried vegan for a while, and for me, it didn't really work. Like it wasn't even to do with the taste or the actual food, just knowing for my body, it just didn't work for me. I had less energy. I was sluggish and didn't feel good. Whereas on this diet, I feel good. I have tons of energy. And like I said, I lost weight and feel better. Yeah. So I've just gone on, hey, I feel good. I'm functioning well. Everything's going good. So for now, I'm just going to roll with it. But I can't speak to anyone else. Like you have to try it for yourself.
Well,
and it's obviously very restrictive. Like it's like, hey, I'm going out for dinner with a friend or whatever. Yeah, I'm only going to be eating steak. So yeah.
No, I think that's honestly the issue with, people listening to health advice in this day and age, because so many people are like spouting things that are like absolutes when all of this is based on your epigenetics and your makeup and your blood type and how you function as a human. So I think that's like the big missing piece. Everyone's like, oh, well, if I go vegan, that's like the healthiest plant-based, that's what I do. But like if it doesn't work for what you're genetically predisposed to, then it's not going to work. So
I agree. I'm open to whatever works for someone else. I know it's like a pretty fluffy answer, but I really think diet-wise, especially, it's just true. Like our bodies are so unique, and we don't have enough research yet to fully understand everything. So all I know for me is like I tell people, look, I had digestive issues for a few years that was pretty crippling. Like after every meal, my stomach would hurt, and I have to have a hot heating pad on it and sit down. And so much so I didn't want to eat. And when I switched to this diet, it took it all away. I lost a bunch of weight and I feel good. So for me, I'm going to keep doing that until something else shows me, hey, this is a better path. So
2 episodes prior to this one, I interviewed this woman named Kirsten, and she has a wellness, program where her and her husband test people's blood types and look at their genetics and things, and then present them with a diet that's best for them. And she's actually had patients where she's cured inflammatory diseases and autoimmune diseases just by changing their diet and putting them on the right types of supplements. So there's absolutely something to that in terms of, healing yourself and being at your best. Right. So
I love that. That's so cool.
Yeah. Well, oh my gosh, Luke, this was such a great conversation. I feel like I learned so much about you and like AI and all the things. Is there anything you'd like to leave my audience with today before we sign off?
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. It was great chatting. I've been following you. I feel like it's been a few years. I don't know how long we've been exchanging basically just being kind to each other and leaving a bunch of Y's at the end of our name. That's the thing that we do.
Yes.
But yeah, no, it's been a great conversation. I would say I don't have a major message to leave with anyone other than, hope you're having a good day and go eat a steak or a fucking vegetable or something. Go smile. Have a good day.
Absolutely. Well, you guys, if you don't follow Luke Matthews, you absolutely should. And follow his business page as well, Wizards of Odd Marketing, if you need a ghostwriter or you want to learn more about AI and how to harness it. He is absolutely your guy. He's going to be coming out with a course soon about AI as well. True. So look out for that. Luke, it was such a pleasure. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me on.
I don't know about you guys, but I am literally running to download those AI apps and get subscriptions so that I can use them as my little minions and have my productivity go up so much higher and get more clients and do the damn thing. Honestly, I learned so much from that conversation. I think Luke has so much value to give as a human, and, everything that he does, he's so balls to the wall, which I honestly respect so much because, I'm not really like that. So I could stand to learn a thing or two from that type of mentality. I obviously, confided in something pretty big on this episode too. Don't worry, we're not going to brush on past that. I think I'm going to dedicate an entire episode to talk about that, unpack everything, what I'm going through, and hopefully, it'll resonate with some people and maybe we can all heal together and use this as a nice little platform to make ourselves better in that way as well. But definitely look out for Luke Matthews, follow him on LinkedIn. I think he still has a Twitter, like all the things. There's so much you can learn from him, honestly. So go ahead and do that because he's a free asset. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. If you liked this episode, this conversation as much as I did, as always, please like it, download it, subscribe, share it with your friends. Let's all have some laughs, lessons, and brand new perspectives together. I post new episodes every Friday, Junior, or Thursday if you're lame. So stay tuned.